Hello and welcome to day 22. Gary here. 22 days we've been talking about mental health issues. This is 25-day challenge, and today I want to talk around the subject of illness, conditions, medical conditions, pain, that sort of stuff. So two things I'm going to look at. So the first thing I'm going to look at is when you have a condition that causes you discomfort, etc., for a long period of time, and you feel pain. What does that pain do to you? What does that pain do to you on a daily basis over a period of time? So I'll speak from experience, from my own experience. So when I was in the Marines, I managed to pick up a few injuries, and one of those was a back injury. Okay, and it was because of a couple of incidents I had. So there was some damage on the vertebrae, and the discs, etc., were sort of crushed or damaged, etc., which caused pain. So that ended up me having to have physio and pretty much about 3 years worth of taking painkillers, and sometimes those painkillers not working, long-term pain, long-term discomfort, unable to do the things you were trying to do before. So, at that time, I think particularly my kids were sort of 10, 15 age. So, wanted to play, run, jump, and do all that sort of stuff. Pretty much unable to do that sort of stuff because the pain and the discomfort and the physical movement couldn't actually physically do that sort of stuff. So the sort of consequences of me being in pain for a long time was lack of mobility, lack of being able to actually move around and run and jump and play, etc. But it had a knock-on effect on a whole lot of other stuff. So I was grumpy. You're in pain, you're grumpy. You don't want to play. You don't want to see the fun stuff. That's it. You've got this sort of pain shield on, and you sort of sit in your pain. It becomes yours, who you are, etc. And the other thing that you start to do is you start to then steer away from things that you would normally do, because you know that either A, you can't physically do them because of the pain, or you don't want to do them because it will cause you pain. So you start to lose your going outedness, I suppose. This is sort of not proper England, but that's what it is. So you stop doing those things. You just start to slow down. You stop shying away. You become less physical. You might then start to put on weight, which is what I did as well. Started to put on weight. Less physical, so therefore less mobile. Less mobile means things start to hurt more because they're seizing up, etc. So it's a bit of a catch-22. It sort of causes a lot more of the issues, and mentally as well. If you've got mine was back pain. If you've got a back pain or a pain problem in your body and you're moving around, that starts to affect who you think you are. Remember, we spoke yesterday about who do we think we are? Who are we? This physical being is just a shell, etc. Who are we inside? Who do we think we are? Who is the person inside, and what makes us us? And so you start to think that you just this broken shell, broken machine, broken person that has all of these physical restrictions, can't physically do it. So you think less of yourself. You think that what's the point at times? There's no point in going out to the park, walking down the road, because you're going to be in pain. And then when you come back, you're going to be in pain a bit more, and then you're going to have to take some more tablets. So you start to sort of indulge the pain. You start to indulge the pain. You live the pain. You become the pain. The pain becomes who you are. you identify as somebody with pain. And guess what? The pain sticks around. It stays there with you. It keeps you company. Okay, it's something that you can rely on after a while. It's there. It's something physical to give you. And also, as well, maybe for me particularly, it allowed me to take it easy. At that point, I was still in the Marines, and had a pretty much quite a physical, demanding lifestyle up to that point, and it gave me the opportunity to not have to do that sort of stuff. I'm medically downgraded, so I didn't have to do all the running, jumping, and playing. I got moved to somewhere where I was less likely to do frontline stuff, combat stuff. So, more of a backroom desk type sort of thing. So, easier life as such, but that comes at a cost because of that lack of who you've become. Or say the lack of you've become somebody that is now putting up with less than you deserve in life, if that makes sense. So you were living a full life, but this condition, this pain, etc., has now stopped you doing that. So therefore, you accept that now you've got this lower standard of living, etc., in that sort of area, particularly the physical stuff. And that has a knock-on effect around everything else. So your physical relationships with people, and your partners, and it just knocks on everything. So that's one element of looking at, a condition, an illness as such. So you start to own it, become it, identify it. So, and it's interesting because we sort of buy into what we expect that illness to mean. So it means we can't do certain stuff, and that might mean that it's good stuff or bad stuff, or we might then start to use that as an excuse not to do stuff. We might then decide that actually I can't do that. I don't want to do it, but I can't do it. I'm not going to attempt it. I'm not going to try anything else because I'm in pain. And what we do, we start to sell ourselves short. We stop growing. We stop attempting things to take us outside of our comfort zone, because our comfort zone means that we can manage our pain, we can manage our condition, we can manage, and we're managing to stay in our bubble, away from the things that might cause us pain, but also they might actually create more pain, or we might get more injured. So we start to have a lesser involvement in life. Okay, so that's one element of it. So the other side of it, thanks, Neil. The other one is where we have something that hits us out of nowhere. So maybe something like a condition. So say we sort of become diabetic, or we have a stroke, or we have cancer, or something else that hits us like that. The point of that is, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not saying that these things aren't terrible and aren't quite awful, but I can't comment about specific medical stuff. There's a whole load of stuff out there. What I want to talk about is the fact that yes, we get injured and we get things and things sort of wear down, break out, whatever. But if the point of this is managing our life so that we have the best possible chance of enjoying ourselves, and where we have physical restrictions, that has an effect on our mental outlook, our mental health. Because if it stops us doing things, then we then have this sort of maybe guilt, maybe longing after something that we used to have before that we can't do anymore. So we start to then have this cycle of, regret and sort of setting ourselves up for failure because, we can't achieve this sort of stuff. So there's a whole raft of other emotions, particularly around mental health with long-term conditions. Depression, anxiety, they all come on as well. Okay, so we've got all this stuff going on. What I want to sort of touch on as well is the fact that sometimes conditions, okay, and not necessarily, I'm not thinking anything in particular, but there's reasons why we feel ill at times. And I'm not saying, well, we've just eaten a load of dodgy food, therefore we've got food poisoning. I'm thinking more about actual conditions or pains and aches where we are creating, and again, I'm going to be very careful what I say here. I'm not saying that people are suddenly making themselves ill, but actually I am saying that in one way, and I'll explain what I mean. So, from my perspective, the symptom of my mental situation when I was in the Marines, with my lifestyle as it was a back complaint, a back pain. Okay? And I'll explain that a little bit further. So I had a couple of injuries, a couple of times where I had falls or accidents, etc., which created this sort of situation with my back. But my lifestyle was unmanageable at the time. Okay? I was trying to shore up a broken marriage. In the background, it wasn't working. I was then trying to manage my relationship with my children, which wasn't good because I was spending more time away, etc., and trying to manage this, and also because of the back problems, etc. Yeah, I just didn't seem to be able to do the things that I wanted to do, and was a grumpy person basically, and bad attitude. And in the Marines, I got to a point where I was pretty much stuck in a situation because I'd entered the rank structure later than other people. Younger guys than me had reached a rank above me, and then basically, because the rank structure is like a pyramid, the further you go up, the less there's less space for you to get in, etc. Long story short, there wasn't space for me to progress, so I was sort of stuck in that sort of middle management level with very little sort of prospects of going on. So, stuck in that sort of situation, stuck with pain, stuck with a relationship. So I then started to be angry with myself and be angry with the world and all this sort of stuff. So it wasn't until I entered my personal development cycle when I sort of looked back at some of the things that happened to sort of try and work out what had happened. So for me, this is my perspective. What was happening for me at that time was I'd felt a lack of support. Okay, a lack of support from everybody around me. So a lack of support from the Marines because they weren't giving me what I wanted. The lack of support because of the physical stuff. Therefore, again, I was just stuck behind a desk and I wasn't able to do these other things and, special considerations. Lack of support from my family, lack of support from my relationships. Pretty much I was feeling unsupported. So there's a few links that I sent out before this on Facebook there about healing yourself, healing your life, etc. And there's loads of stuff out there, but there was a couple that I've used in the past. So most of them agree, and Louise Hay has written quite a few books around this about healing yourself spiritually. So we are a spiritual creature. So healing that pain that you've got inside you spiritually, which is your psychological pain, which then helps you manage or even make disappear some of the physical pain. And I'm like, no, it's physical pain. I got injured, I got damaged, and that's all it is. However, that was when I was sort of mid-30. I'm now 56, okay, and I'm able to do a lot more now than I was then. So if I had a back problem that was long term and was incapacitating then, why am I allowed why am I able to do the things I'm doing now? I work in the outdoors in Wales, running all over the mountains with people going in the outdoors. I, up until last year, was doing long distance events. I work with mountain rescue. I don't have a physical debilitating back condition. I have back pain and aches and knee stuff, just like everybody else. But that was a symptom of me feeling unsupported at that time. Once I'd got my head straight around the lack of support I felt from the world around me wasn't actually going to change. It was my support for myself that needed to be changed. My inner workings, my spiritual connection, my broken thought patterns, my stinking thinking. Once I created a repair for that and started rooting around in the true causes of that, then the physical elements started to go away. So, and again, I'm not saying that this is right for all conditions. I'm saying that at times, okay, we create a situation because of our lack of awareness of the mental choices that we make. We're creating physical pain because of our, I don't know, how do we say that? We're reluctant to follow our true path because that might mean that we go against either our values and beliefs that we've had handed down to us from our families. We go against our decisions that we've made and may let down the people around us that we've got around us. Or it means a drastic amount of sacrifice to achieve that thing, and we're unwilling to take that sacrifice and step forward into that. So if we want to create a good, robust mental health, then we have to think about how that mental health is affecting us physically and vice versa. Physically, are we in a situation where we're creating a lot of the hassle because of our mental thinking, or is our mental thinking creating a lot of the physical hassle because of the way that we've been thinking? And a mixture of both. So the point being with all of this is the fact that I entered into a lot of work, okay, and it took me pretty much about 4 years of physically going to see chiropractors, Tai Chi. I got a personal therapist, I got a life coach, I had a personal trainer. Yeah, over a period of about 4 years. Obviously, this, if you did it all at once, it'd be quite a lot of money. But at different times, and I had friends help me, etc. And an ex-Marine buddy of mine who was a personal trainer, etc. He set me up with some programs and things. And it took me that amount of time, that investment of time and effort, and pretty much on a daily basis, maybe, well, definitely, gym work, hour, 2 hours a day. Personal development stuff, reading, seminars, sitting, meditating, etc. There was a huge amount of time and effort and investment that I put into myself because I couldn't not do it. I had to invest something to change the way that I was living because I just wasn't going to do anything less. So the point being is that and again, this is me. I'm not saying, I've got the answer to all of this sort of stuff. If you've got a medical condition, great, bless you, love you, and you've got doctors helping you, that's great. But investing time and effort in sorting your stinking thinking out. If you've got, like I had, bad attitudes, bad thought processes, they're going to make it worse. They're going to make your pain focus worse, okay? Because you're focusing on it. Invest some time and effort. Go and look at these links and see what these physical conditions some people think are a manifestation of. Okay, so mine was a feeling of feeling unsupported, because the spine is the major structure of the body which creates all of your support. So therefore, that's where my pain was. And once I'd sorted out that feeling of lack of support from the universe, and actually got from the support from myself, and worked on myself, and looked at my connection to the universe and the connection to all the things around me, and rather than expecting everybody to do things for me and save me and work life out, and actually do it for myself, that's where my change started. And again, I say a rapid change. I'd had a back condition for 15, 20 years when I was in the Marines. Things getting worse, etc. And it took me 4 years of effort, concentrated to get on top of that. If you've had a long-standing condition for a long period of time, and you take some steps to change it, don't be surprised if nothing happens in a very short period of time, because it's been part of your life for such a long time that the thing that's creating it, as well as having a medical condition, may well be something way, way, way in the past that you don't even know is connected to this. It may well be something you don't want to address. Bless you as you are. It's not a problem, okay? I'm just giving you an alternative way to look at this stuff, okay, that helped me. And mental health is one of those things that we take for granted. Very much like physical health. We take it for granted, particularly when we're young and bouncy, etc. We take it for granted until we don't have it. And again, the time to sort anything out, the time to get fit is before you get a condition that stops you being fit. The time to sort out your mental health is when you've got time and you feel good about it. Okay, so that if you do have a hit, you've got some way to then manage yourself. But again, I'm not saying that all of these conditions that people have and all of these pains are just going to disappear because you do a bit of personal development. What I'm saying is that there's ways that you can manage your life better, and in some cases, and you just have to troll the internet for some cases where people have had life-changing conditions, life-threatening conditions, cancers, etc., and they have gone out there, and rather than go down the normal route, which is taking drugs and just waiting for things to take their course, they've taken a proactive approach. They've taken some steps because maybe they had a grounding in some stuff before, or they just said, I'm not accepting this, and they've done something different. They've gone with maybe some help with medical stuff as well, and they've sorted their brains out. They've sorted their thoughts out. They've sorted their feelings out. They've gone through and accepted that this is something that they have control over, and started to make changes, started to look at themselves in a very open and honest way, and looking at that pain as a manifestation of them not attending to themselves, not looking after themselves, not following their path, not following their life journey, not being true to themselves or the people around them, by doing what they should be doing, by doing what they promised themselves, by doing what is in their heart that they should be doing. So, my challenge is, if you have pain, if you have a condition, okay, you may well be under medication for it. You may well be following a path of treatment for it. Great. And I'm saying you need to stick with that. You need to stick with that, because that's, you've gone down that route. You've sought medical advice, and medical advice is way more experienced than I am. Doctors go for university for, 5, 10 years, whatever. And GPs know what they're talking about. But do some research on what it means as well. Look at remember what we said yesterday? We're not just this physical thing. We're something else. There's this other person inside, without the split personality thing going on. There's the other person inside, observing, looking at this body. Okay? We have thoughts and we have feelings that crop up, that have created our future, that have created us as the people that we are now. Okay, and sometimes remember that we don't have any control over those thoughts and feelings, because they're way back in the past that went in and we've got no control over them, and they reflect how we look at ourselves and what we think we should be doing, etc. Maybe there's something out there that can help you. Maybe there's some level of control that you can get by spending time and effort meditating, looking at this stuff, going, into spirit quests, life coaching, whatever it is, stuff that you start to develop, stuff that you are looking at yourself for, to create some change in your life. And maybe, just maybe, you could create some painless days in the future, or pain-free, or lessering the pain, or managing that pain in a better way than just dulling it with painkillers and dumbing yourself down. So the challenge is, go out there. Yeah, Louise Hay is a good start, but there's a load more other stuff there. And Louise Hay was a very good book there that I read right at the beginning and thought, okay, I need to learn some more stuff about this. And not necessarily looking at alternative healing methods and things like that, but just looking at what it means, what this pain process means. And it's an alternative way of looking at it. Okay, and it doesn't work for everybody, just like everything doesn't work for me. But again, if you decide it will, then I'm sure it will. Okay? So, pain. Pain is nature's way of telling you that you need to stop doing something now and do something different. Okay? So, try looking at it like that. It's helping you find a path. It's not stopping you, it's guiding you. Okay? So maybe you need to look at things differently and look in other ways of this so that you can progress forward. Right, that's me for today. Day 23 tomorrow. No subject at all for the next 3 days. I've got no idea what we're going to talk about. If you've got an idea for the next 3 days, anything at all, send me a message or put something on here. If not, I'm sure something will come up and we'll sort of work out where we're going to go from here. All right? So be kind to each other. Saturday night, was going to have a barbecue outside, but it's all grey and wet out here in Wales now. So meat feast then indoors. So be nice to each other. Be kind. See you tomorrow.